Welcome to ACOP Ministry Mind Leadership Podcast, where we talk to leaders across our fellowship with the purpose of building connection and engagement. I'm Kim Cooper, your host and ACOP Next Gen Catalyst. Join with me each episode to hear stories that will challenge and encourage you in your ministry journey. Welcome to Ministry Mind Podcast. Today I have a wonderful guest. We have Darla Matchett, and she is our ACOP Administrator. And so I'm really excited to interview today because Darla, you are retiring soon.
Very soon. Yes, I am.
Very soon. Well, that's exciting and sad. There's mixed emotions.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Well,
yes.
I want to get started. As I was preparing for this interview, there was a few people that encouraged me that I needed to ask you these first two questions.
Okay.
First of all, why are you leaving? And could you please stay? Is there anything we can do to make you stay?
Oh, Kim, I've got my Kleenex here. You're going to start me bawling right from the get-go with the questions like that. But I don't think there's any secret that I absolutely love my job. And, you know, it's been such an incredible honor to work with so many wonderful, godly people here in the office through the years, and to share the ministry journey of, our members. And I've been able to connect with ministry partners around the world. And it's just been a wonderful gift. I love it. I started talking to Wes about retirement, about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was heading towards my 60th birthday, and I just kind of thought, that's about time, but he wouldn't listen. He did offer me a sabbatical 2 months that I took. That was just such a blessing, and I really appreciated that. But I have still kind of felt the oomph slipping away, and I really, honestly, I'm pretty sure my best before date has arrived. So I've got young grandkids in the city, and like so many, I've, same story for grandparents everywhere. I've hardly spent any time with them over the past year. So I want to start planning some grandma sleepovers. And but, truth be told, it's really incredibly difficult to be leaving. And I've shed a lot of tears. But, this is the right time for me, the right time for ACOP. And, there's the old saying of always leave them wanting more. And I'm just going to leave before people decide that they've had too much.
And I hear you on the grandma time.
Absolutely.
Time with my mom when my kids were little is a time that we will cherish for forever.
Absolutely.
So that is important, and that is a ministry in itself.
There you go.
Yeah. So in all seriousness, my next question, I want to know what kept you serving for ACOP all these years when you could have gone anywhere, downtown Calgary, and had a much higher paying job, the prestige of all of that. What kept you serving with ACOP?
Well, ACOP is pretty prestigious too.
Yes, aren't they?
Yeah. But I just said that old saying, I'm an old lady. I'm part of the boomer generation. And apparently that's just one of the traits of being a boomer is, we're ambitious, loyal, and work-centric. And so a part of it is just that's the way I was born. You get a job and you're loyal, you stick to it as long as possible. Of course, it doesn't help if you love your job immensely too. But I have a little secret. I don't know if Brother Killam or Wes were ever aware of this, but over the course of my time here, I interviewed and was offered several other positions. And it was never my intent to just leave ACOP, but it just I needed to know that I could, if I wanted to, that I had value somewhere else. And actually, I won't take a long time, but that's kind of how I started work at ACOP in the first place. I, all through my church career, I worked at the church for about 20 years, and I did the same sort of thing, applied for different jobs, and there was an ad in, I'd been at the church about 20 years, just about, and there was an ad in the bulletin on Sunday that ACOP was looking for a receptionist. And the next day, Monday, was our annual general meeting, and I worked and prepared all these reports and, you know, presented everything. So Tuesday morning is kind of like the morning after the day before. It just kind of,
Yeah.
and I was feeling, you know, nobody said I did a good job or whatever, you know. So I said, I'm going to just apply for this at ACOP, just, you know, just to give myself that little boost, somebody who likes me. So I prepped my resume and everything and just put it in the basket and didn't do anything more. The deadline was Friday. No word of a lie. The next morning, the pastor came in my office and he stuck his head in and he says, hey, I have to run over to the ACOP office. Do you have anything I need to take? I said, well, hey, here's an envelope for Wes. Can you just pass this on to Wes? And so my dear pastor made the application on my behalf.
And he didn't even know.
And he didn't know. So Wes called me the next day, called me for the interview. In the meantime, Diana Tates had resigned as administrative assistant to Brother Killam. So they interviewed me for that job. And long story short, 2 weeks later, I was working at ACOP, kind of shell shocked. It was never my intent, but it was God's plan, and totally knowing that this is where I'm to be. And my first day of work was March 16th, my 40th birthday.
Wow.
And my kids said to me, Mom, is this a midlife crisis or what's going on here? I did think I was a lifer at the church, right? But I did find my place here and I have loved it. I'm very blessed. So. And
you and Wes have been the dynamic duo ever since.
There you go. There you
go. Okay, so you know you've spoken a little bit about your position, but tell us a little bit more about your role at ACOP and how it's changed over the years.
Well, like I say, I applied for the receptionist job. I was hired as admin assistant to Brother Killam. I worked in donor services, posting the deposits. I also covered the accounting desk for a while Shirley got sick. And then when Gil retired as moderator and Wes took over that position, I covered his desk for a while, and then I was officially appointed administrator in 2006. So that in itself, there's been a lot of changes. My predecessors in this position were some pretty strong leaders. Fred Osmond served, he was the original clerk, and he served for I don't even know how many years.
Yes.
And he was followed by Brian Conrad. And then Earl Jellison was here for a short time when we moved the office from Saskatoon to Calgary.
Right.
And then Wes. And then he passed the baton on to me. So
wow.
Each one brought something different. I think my female perspective added, you know, another layer of things to how I approach things.
Yeah.
And of course, now we've got Trevor Heyman, who is taken on this role, and he will bring his own unique style to the table. So,
Yep, you bet. That's awesome. So as the administrator, you felt like what are some of the changes that were over the years in the fellowship that you were able to witness kind of from your chair?
Well, you know, from the administrative perspective, I've seen a lot of changes, just as society has changed and things change.
Right.
We've changed many processes and policies over the years. But in practical sense, when I first started, majority of our donations came by mail, and we would literally process hundreds of checks. Our bank deposits were huge. So much of the stuff that we did, now this is dating myself, but a lot of our accounting was all done manually.
Wow.
So as we're always looking for better, more efficient ways of doing things. So our capacity and our ability to serve our members has evolved as we've been able to streamline things. another administrative. The government regulations are huge. The rules for
Right.
operating a charity in Canada are always evolving and changing, and it's been one of my important roles to try and keep up with all of that.
Right.
ACOP is a national organization, so we're registered federally, so we have to do that. But then we have churches in every province,
Right.
and every province kind of has their own way of doing things as well. So that's a big job, just keeping up with all of that. But then on a more personal, philosophical level, two big changes that I think, from my perspective. One is we have seen over the course of the 23 years a significant increase in female members.
Yeah.
For years, I was always the sole female attending all of our, different meetings and retreats and stuff. And I used to joke that, I had the ladies' room all to myself while there was a lineup at the men's. But there's been maybe a subtle shift from, the thinking of her supporting his ministry. A pastor's wife has always been very, very involved, but not recognized as being, the pastoral team.
Right.
But that has shifted to more of a mainstream acceptance of women coming into their own place in their own right in ministry. And like I say, some of that is just the church changing with the times, but we've seen the new generation. I can talk now as the old lady, talk about the young kids, but there's a real sense of doing ministry as a team, as a couple, as equal partners. And I know some of our members even see it as their family mission. They're all, their kids, everybody, we're on mission together. And I think that is a huge blessing to churches, and just a big shift that I've seen in ministry. And I said there was two. What was the other strength that I think is in ACOP is an emphasis on relationship. ACOP has always, we're a network of ministers and ministries, and members were co-workers, they were colleagues, they were acquaintances, but I've kind of seen a subtle shift over the years. ACOP is still all of those things, but I think we've become a family as well. We're a group of people that truly love and care for one another. And ACOP is pretty small compared to other organizations, but I think that's our strength. There's the TV show Cheers. You want to go where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came. That's ACOP, right? It's the relationships that we build. And I think it's that love for each other that's going to draw people. That's going to want people to participate in the next 100 years of ACOP. So I hope that kind of gives you the answers you were looking for.
Yeah, well, even on that note, Greg and I had that same experience. There was 3 years where we left the fellowship for another church organization. And when we came back, we actually got invited to a district conference, and we walked in, and it was that Cheers type of exactly that scenario where, like, I remember Rod and Cheryl Barks, Craig and Kim, you're here. Like, and I tell you the honest truth, I turned to Greg and I said, we're home.
We're home. Yep.
We're home.
Yep.
These are our people. This is our tribe.
I think that is, like I say, that's one of the biggest strengths. Yep.
So what has been the most rewarding part of your job?
Wow.
That's a tough one.
The team that I've gotten to work with here has just been amazing. I'm going to miss that very, very much. Miranda and Jerry and Brenda and Susan and the regional directors, the Canadian leadership team. There's a really close bond that's formed when you work together and you pray together and you kind of share the same goals and vision. And we're co-workers, we're colleagues, and I think we're going to remain lifelong close friends. You mentioned Wes and I, dynamic duo. I am certainly going to miss working with him.
Yeah.
We've known each other since Bible school. We were classmates, and we worked together, of course, all my 23 years. And as you know, man, he is, well, boss, if you're listening, he is a very strong leader, a very godly man. And we've become very good friends in the process of it all. So that's been really rewarding. But of course, the best part of this job and the hardest thing for me to let go of is just the daily interaction and connection with people, our ACOP family. I've gotten to love so many people and being able to share in their lives and just kind of, watch them grow in their ministry. That's been so rewarding. In fact, some of the younger members started calling me Mama D through the years, and I really love that. Even though I'm not old enough to really be the mama, just let me make that clear. But, yes. Of all of the administration stuff, it's the people, it's the connections that are the most rewarding. I will miss that terribly. Yep.
So, I'm thinking about you're going to be spending lots of time with your grandbabies, and as they get older and you tell them stories about your life, what is one of your fondest memories in this season of your life working as the administrator for ACOP? What's one of those fond memories that you're going to recount to your grandkids about this season?
Thank goodness. Of all of the things that when I look back, the highlights for me are the family times, the best times that we've had, the leadership retreats, the district gatherings, the conferences, the congresses. And like I say, that's funny because I'm an introvert.
Right.
I'm not, I would shut my door, do my work, balance the books. That's my thing. And yet the big gatherings with all of the ACOP people, that's my biggest, fondest memories. This is a weird one. It's impossible to just pick out one thing, but something that just sticks in my mind. We had a conference in early 2000, 2002, 3, something like that, in Fredericton.
Okay.
My first and only chance. I've never traveled that far east before, so that was a huge adventure. And the conference was hosted by Smythe Street Church, and they treated us royally. It was fabulous. And one of the things they did, they went fishing and got all these lobsters and made a big lobster feast for the first opening night. I was kind of grossed out. I've never eaten a lobster before, and it was this big guy with a face on my plate. Brother Killam had to teach me how to eat the thing. And I had an allergic reaction, and I was as beet red as those lobsters for many days afterwards.
Oh no.
So don't know why that one sticks out, but the conferences are so much work and so much planning. A year before you're planning it, and you work once you're there. Sleep early mornings, late nights. Oh, but I loved every single minute of it. So I would say that's my fondest memories. And boy, I'm really praying that we're able to gather in Banff this October. We need a good family reunion. We need some hugging. So
yeah, I kind of knew that you would share that conferences and those gatherings would be one of your highlights, and I think that's probably been one of the things you've grieved lots. I know we as Canadian leadership team and the like all of those that were planning for our conference for the last year.
Yes,
that's been such a thing that we've really grieved, not being able to follow through with those plans. And I was so excited to do one of these with you as an ACOP staffer.
Yep.
I will always remember you and June Cote wearing, I just remember you and your bright pink high heels. That was the time you could bring out your fancy high heels. And I will always be thinking, I need to pack a pair of high heels because I need to do this right.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. That kind of became the shtick. I'd have to wear those heels. And I actually, I think it was Bruce Lundgren teased me about one time about where's your shoes. It's, it's not conference if you don't have your shoes on. So yes, I still have my pink shoes.
I
I'll
love
have
it.
to rock them, but
So, okay, here's a little bit more of a serious one. My job with ACOP is next gen.
mhm,
And so helping our next generation of leaders see their gifts and their abilities as ministry, and then to kind of come alongside them and help them to find their place and in our tribe. And so a question that I have for you is, have you seen your administrative position as a ministry over the years? Like oftentimes those that are gifted in administration and maybe are more introverted personalities like yourself, sometimes, don't see that as a ministry, don't see that as serving the body in the way that it really is. Have you seen it as a ministry? Have you struggled with that?
When I worked at the church as a church administrator, Len Larson was the administrator here at ACOP. And so I would call him with questions and just when I needed some help with some things, just as churches do. And there was a real bond. We developed a real good friendship. And in fact, he started calling me about once a month just to check in, see how things were going. And he used to call me his little buddy. So he'd say, "Hey, little buddy, how's it going?" But anyways, Len taught me some really important lessons about the art of administration, as he called it. He said, he saw it is there can be a tension between ministry and administration, and they're sometimes seen as opposing forces. Ministry, you think of compassion and care and love and all things good, and administration is the rules and the hard and unbending and policies and procedures, and they're just the roadblocks to getting things done. I know we talked about this a lot. One of Len's frustrations was, people would just say, "Well, I don't care how it gets done, get it done." But I've come to no. Here's where the preachers that I've rubbed shoulders with rub off on me a little bit. But I've come to understand that every ministry team, every project, you have to have three components. Inspiration. You got to have, the idea has to come from the heart of God.
Yeah.
Initiative is, I've got my I words here. So initiative, you got to put the hard work in to get it done. Yeah. Integrity. And that's where I see the administration part comes in. You have to do things the right way. Yeah. And an effective ministry team has to have all three of those giftings. We need those visionaries. I think we've all worked with the guys that, they just dream the big dreams. Their heads are up in the clouds, right? And they can see the 30,000 foot view and the big picture, and they can hear from God where to go. And if you don't have those people that are gifted in that, and that's their strength, you have no dreams to shoot for. There's no ideas, there's no progress. But then you also need the workers, the people that are, I guess, the gift of helps, the ministry of helps, the fortitude, climb that mountain, cut the path, mow the grass. And without those people, we could dream beautiful dreams, but we'd never accomplish anything.
Right.
But we need to do the work carefully and correctly with proper design and with integrity. And that's where I see the ministry of administration. That kind of just serves as the roadmap, just to gently guide, keeps the wheels on the track, stops you from veering off into the ditches. And you can do something without integrity, but it's not going to flourish. Yeah. You have to have every one of those gifts, those ministries working together in order to succeed. So another plug here, boss, if you're listening, I have to say Wes is one of the extremely rare people that is gifted incredibly in all three of those areas. He's amazing visionary. He's got incredible patience and work ethic and stamina. And he is one of the most administrative people that I have ever met. So if you're listening, boss, there you go.
There you go.
Good.
Well, we know you're not trying to suck up now. That's
no, there you go. That's long. That ship has sailed. So yeah.
Okay, so you said that you started work at ACOP. Was it on your 40th birthday or around?
My 40th birthday was my first day. Yes.
Thinking back to that, I'm 40, Darla. Thinking back to that 40-year-old girl, she walked into that office.
Yep.
And thinking all that you've learned now, what would you say to that 40-year-old young woman that walked into that office? What would be your advice, or what do you wish you had known? What would you say to her?
You know, I have no regrets. I think I would just say, you're going to love this. Yeah. Yep. I would probably say, and this is advice to anybody, savor every minute, you know, because these years are going to slip by so fast, faster than you ever imagined. And all of a sudden you're sitting having a Zoom chat with Kim and having to say goodbye to it all. So yeah, no advice other than that. It's been
joy.
Joy, absolute joy.
That was my next question. What advice would you give to a young leader that has similar gifts and personality traits to you? What would you say to that young leader that's struggling to maybe see their role as a ministry, find their place in ministry with those gifts? What would be your advice to someone like that?
You know, that strikes a little chord with me, that find your place. I had to work with a particular board member, and I'm sure all of us have had these experiences through the years, but this gentleman was extremely biased against women in ministry. And he was part of my finance team, and so I had to work with him. But one of the things that he told me all the time was just know your place. And I carried a chip on my shoulder for a long time, thinking, you know your place. But the Lord eventually shifted my thinking of that, and the concept of finding your place is a really positive thing.
Right.
I've already given you that spiel about the inspiration and integrity in that one. But young leaders, I think you also need to be taught, it doesn't matter if you're male or you're female, and it doesn't matter if you're a gifted preacher or you're a great cook or you're good with numbers. Every single person, we have a unique gift and a unique contribution to bring to make in the body of Christ. So you just need to figure out who you are and where you fit best. And honestly, ministry, to me, it's not what you do for a paycheck. It's really easy to get caught up into the idea of, well, this job is ministry and this job isn't, and I'm ministry and you're not, and that kind of way of thinking. Everything we do should be done with integrity, with humility, and simply with the goal of bringing honor to Jesus.
Yeah.
And you may work for a church, you may work for a Christian organization, or you may work in the secular world. You may have your own business. You may work at the bank. Whatever you do, wherever you land, if you do it with integrity, with a servant's heart, your work is your ministry, and you are the one that controls that.
Yeah. Yeah, you bet. I actually was just before this call preparing for a kids chat, and we're doing a study on Esther at church up here in May. And so I was preparing for that, and just really meditating on how God plans in advance and how he uses us through our obedience to whatever it is that he's calling us to. And it doesn't always make sense or look the way we thought.
Yep.
But knowing Esther knew her place and she was obedient to what the Lord was telling her to do. And she didn't know that she was going to accomplish something amazing, but she just was obedient.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Last question. And this is a question that I'm going to start asking all of the people that I interview on this podcast.
Okay.
This podcast is called Ministry Mind Leadership. And so I am wanting to ask everyone, what does it mean to you to be ministry minded? And you kind of alluded to that in the last.
I was going to say that I've just exactly what I've said. Yep. Honestly, in my case, it's never been about having a title or look at me in the spotlight. I can have a profound ministry in the background, behind the scenes, where nobody even knows I'm there.
Yeah.
So it's the attitude, and to me, that's ministry. So having a ministry mindset, it means you have an attitude of servanthood with integrity in every aspect of your life. I think that's ministry mindset. That's my ministry mindset.
Yeah. And I alluded to that at the beginning, how this is going to be a new season of ministry and how being a grandma is a ministry.
If I'm cooking cookies for that's my ministry to them. Yes. It's kind of a really exciting way of thinking about things. My ministry is not ending. My ministry is me, and whatever I'm doing, if I do it with that attitude, I'm ministry. That's my place.
Yeah, exactly. And I rub shoulders a lot with young moms, and their ministry right now looks like washing the dishes and folding the laundry and serving their family. That's a ministry. And
that is so important that they recognize they're not on a shelf. They're not that. They are right in their place and doing what they're supposed to do. And it's every bit as important as the guy up preaching to thousands.
You bet. And I think about Dorothy Gammy, when she came off the mission field, she said to me, I'm not retiring, I'm retreading. So that, it's all in perspective.
It is. It's all your attitude. Yep.
And I think to me, being ministry minded is a perspective shift.
It totally is.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's got to be you. It's not what other people perceive. It's how you see the Lord working through you and allowing him to work through you in whatever circumstances that you're working in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I personally want to thank you not only just for this interview and sharing your heart and your life with us and your experiences with us, but I want to personally thank you for going ahead of us and paving a way for us young women, making it, I really see there's, a number of women that I look at that have paved the way for us so that this next generation can rise up, and it is looking different, and it is looking significantly more female these days. And so I know the She team looks up to you, and those that are in my cohorts with Ministry Mind and stuff, having strong females that know their place and know their value and have led well is a gift to us. So I want to thank you so much for all that you have done for ACOP years, but also specifically for us females. And
that it's kind of cool that you say that, but I was never the, I'm going to champion for women. It just is kind of, this is my place, do the best. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. Well, we wish you all the best in your retirement, and I hope to see you sporting those flashy high heels as much as possible in as many places as we get to be together in, and bless you in this season. Okay. Thanks for joining me today.
Bless you. Take care.